I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Welcome back to Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Monday, February 20th, 2023. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. Last week, we brought you the inside scoop on Shaun Clarida and the big announcement of his future plans making the switch to open bodybuilding as early as this year. So in a hypothetical world where that happens after the Arnold Classic, it raises the question of whether or not that puts Kamal ElGargni in the driver's seat for the vacant 212 Olympia title. On paper, Kamal is the obvious choice. He is a former Olympia champ after all. And with Shaun out of the picture, you almost have to assume that he's going to fill that role by default unless something completely out of left field happens, which seems like the least likely scenario here. And if we go ahead and assume that he does win the title for a second time in November, not only will it give him a unique place in history as one of 3 people to have ever had multiple division titles, he will also be the oldest Olympia champ of all time in any division, which might actually be more impressive than him winning it for the second time. For all intents and purposes, Kamal is already on the Mount Rushmore of the 212 division. But if he wins the second title at 52 years old, I think we need to have a serious conversation about where that places him in the pantheon of other great athletes of his generation, because he literally and figuratively will be the author of his own chapter in the record books. Now, with all due respect to Kamal and all of his greatness, we'd be doing you guys a disservice if we didn't acknowledge what Keone Pearson was doing right now, because he's taken himself to another level since the start of the 2023 offseason. The progress that he's made over the last 7 or 8 weeks is kind of hard to wrap your head around, especially for someone who's been training and competing at an elite level for as long as he has. I think right now, beyond any shadow of a doubt, we're looking at the biggest and the leanest version of Keone Pearson that we've ever seen at any point during any offseason. He has the shape and the structure. That's something we've seen from him from day one. Now, whether or not he's at a point where that's going to be enough to push him into a spot that makes him a true title contender still remains to be seen. But if he keeps moving the needle at this rate, it probably won't be long before he's going to make it impossible for the judges to keep him out of the middle in that first call out. You might as well make it 3 in a row with the 212 and roll right into this update on Breon Ansley, because he just might be the ultimate wild card in this division. On paper, he's the only other athlete in the entire 212 who can lay claim to having 2 world titles on his resume, which is a huge deal when you consider the fact that there are only a handful of people on the planet who actually know how to do what it takes to win at the highest level. And when you also take into consideration the potential departure of Shaun into the open division, it does set the stage for the judges to start shifting the focus of what they're looking for here in another direction. So if he can put together a nice run and finally take advantage of having the ability to let his body grow and do what it wants without having to worry about sucking down to make the weight limit for classic physique, there's a world where we end the 2023 season with Breon Ansley as your new division champ. I might be dating myself here, but there is a period of time about 10 or 15 years ago when it was pretty common for the Open Olympia champion to take their foot off the gas for a few months after their last show of the season so they could right the proverbial ship, both physically and mentally. Now, I don't know if that was necessarily a good thing or bad, but I do know that's not what we're seeing now from Hadi Choopan, because he's essentially been all gas and no brakes from the minute they handed him the Sandow Trophy. Aside from the fact that he's currently the best bodybuilder on planet Earth, one of the other amazing things about Hadi is that he never seems to get credit training with such a high level of intensity all year round, because in that sense, it's almost like he has a throwback mentality to what we saw from some of the guys in the late 90s and early 2000s. I'm not sure how else to say this, but the guy just seems to be built a little bit differently, and that's probably a big part of the reason why he is where he is right now. So unless he suddenly has a change of heart, or he ends up getting bitten by the injury bug, it's hard to imagine anyone doing enough to close the gap on him this year, which means that the standout trophy in all likelihood will be staying right where it is for the foreseeable future. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.